Good morning, and thank you for joining today's virtual public meeting. We are going to begin after having our little technical difficulty. This is the construction season kickoff meeting for the 2024 construction season. During today's kickoff meeting, you'll get an overview of the 2024 construction season, and we'll have a few reminders followed up by the question and answer period of the presentation. My name is Emma Sharp, and I'm the Communications Associate for the Washtenaw County Road Commission. I'll be the meeting host today along with our panel of experts. Joining us today is Adam Lape, Director of Operations, Brent Schlack, Director of Engineering and County Highway Engineer, and Aaron Burkholz, Assistant Director of Engineering. The meeting audio and video is being recorded and it will be posted on wcroads.org in a few days. After the presentation, you will be asked to virtually raise your hand during the Q&A. I will provide instruction at that time on how to do this from either your computer, the Zoom app, or your touch tone phone. The chat feature for this meeting is turned on. If you have a question during the presentation, feel free to ask it in the chat and we will address it during the Q&A period. You can find the chat window at the bottom of your screen. Closed captioning is available. To turn on closed captioning, click on the three dots at the bottom of your screen. Okay, and I will pass the presentation over to Brent.
Thanks, Emma. You can just go to the next slide. We'll just kind of go through a little bit about ourselves. We're responsible for 1,650 miles of county road, and of those roads, about 740 miles are unpaved. These roads are broken down into a primary road system and our local road system. Our primary system is what connects communities with other communities and to our freeways and to the freeway system, which is managed by MDOT. Our local roads, those are what connect people to their homes and to our primary road system. So of that, we have 650 miles of county road, 740 of those are unpaved. We also have 125 bridges, to over 2,800 culverts, 31,000 signs that we maintain, and we also maintain for MDOT 598 miles of the freeway system, which is US 23, I-94, M14, and some of those are arterial roads, which are US 12, M17 that we manage on behalf of MDOT. You can go to the next slide. So now we'll get into how projects are selected, and you can move on to the next slide. Yep. First, we always like to start off with a definition. So by law, this was actually a law that was enacted in 2018, Public Act 325, and it's regarding our asset management. And that definition is the ongoing process of maintaining, preserving, upgrading, and operating physical assets cost effectively based on a continuous physical inventory and condition assessment and investment to achieve established performance goals. Is a mouthful. So you can go to the next slide, and then we get into our strategy. So our strategy, we review our roads. We use, it's called a PASER system, which what rates our roads. PASER stands for the Pavement Surface Evaluation and Rating. It's a visual inspection. We have trained staff here that go out and visually inspect our roadways. We break that down into a good, fair, and poor designation. And we've been doing this since the 1990s. We look at our primary road system every year, and our local roads are inspected every 2 years. But then we have our strategy, so we focus on preventative maintenance practices, and we'll get into that a little later. Adam will touch on that. But the goal of this is to apply the right fix at the right time and at the right place. And we use that PASER system to help us. And the whole goal of this is to extend the service life. And you can go to the next slide. We like to relate this to changing your oil in your vehicle. Everybody can relate to a vehicle that owns a vehicle. That vehicle has a service life, and in order to extend that service life, we have to maintain that. You do that through changing the oil regularly, changing your tires, and the same can apply to our roadway system. Roads typically last about a brand new road about 20 years, and our bridges about 50. And it's a lot easier to perform preventative maintenance and invest in that, and it's less expensive than to do full replacement. So if you can imagine, if you were to not change your oil in your vehicle or perform routine maintenance on your vehicle, that is it's a lot more expensive to replace that vehicle than it is to perform those preventative maintenance activities. So now I'll hand it off to Adam, and Adam will get into our different preventative maintenance methods.
Thank you, Brent. Okay, well, welcome to the 2024 construction season here. So we'll go into the next slide, and I'm going to talk about some of the 2024 projects that are scheduled. Some of those projects include preservation projects. Those involve preserving or protecting the existing surface of the road. We're doing resurfacing projects, which replace the surface that the traffic drives on. Reconstruction projects where we essentially remove and replace the base and surface material for the road. Then there's bridge projects. Those include maintenance and replacement activities. And then we also have safety projects to improve safety characteristics of a road segment, and then some other miscellaneous projects throughout the county. And then preservation itself, we try to take care of pavement that's in good or fair condition. So I'm going to talk about a few little preservation tactics we use. The WCRC, we use two types of pavement tactics, or excuse me, preservation tactics. One being crack sealing, which is your initial effort after a road's been paved a few years after, probably 2 or 3 years after you start looking at putting that type of surface treatment on there, which I'll highlight in a second. And then seal coating, which is what you've probably become familiar with a chip and then a fog seal portion of our project. So I will describe that a little bit here for you. So crack seal, as I said, is relatively new pavement. You're just trying to seal the cracks that have evolved over, the short time of the life of the road. That's usually the freeze thaw cycles that cause those cracking. So what we do, we apply an adhesive sealant into those cracks, and essentially that's the first effort we offer as preventing moisture infiltration. And you can see in the slide there, the little bit of black material that's just applied through there, that's that adhesive sealant to seal that crack and essentially make it waterproof. And then next would come a few years after that, what we refer to as seal coat. So there's aggregate. So those are the gray stones on top of the asphalt there that are laid into a bed of sealing material. And so that material then is rolled in, and that becomes a surface sealant to really protect that entire road and essentially make it waterproof. As you see, the themes of a lot of our maintenance tactics and preservation tactics are to eliminate that moisture content. The aggregate is simply for traction for the vehicles driving on that sealer. And then here in this next slide, you'll see actually our seal coat equipment, which is in front of you is the chip seal machine. That's applying the actual chips to that sealer, which is the black liquid that's on the road there. What that does is spread stones throughout the width of the road, or what width it's set at. And then we have rollers that come in behind that and simply knead those stones down into the asphaltic material, similar to how you knead bread when you're baking. Later on, the WCRC will add some advisory speed limit signs just for safety, which we'll kind of touch on a little bit later here in the presentation. And then it's eventually swept again within a week or so after we complete that portion of the project. Once that is completed, usually a few weeks later, the crew return for fog sealing. This sealer is applied to that surface stone that you see to better lock that stone in to prevent the stone loss, and also add us another layer of waterproofer. And this is, as you see, applied with a distributor truck, and it's simply sprayed on the road and given some time to cure, and then the crew moves on to the next section. And then during that process of fog sealing, you'll see the pictured vehicle there. It's referred to as a pilot car. And as you can read on the sign, it instructs the drivers to follow them. What that does is it's a positive way of keeping traffic moving at a safe speed, but also controls the traffic volumes a little bit so they're not moving so fast through the zones while our crews are working. And then what I'm going to do now is hand off to Aaron Burkholz to further explain some construction methods where we really get into our engineering department and some of the practices they employ.
Thank you, Adam. And good afternoon to everyone. Very much appreciate everyone taking the time this afternoon to attend the meeting, and those that may view the meeting in the future. Again, that's one of the valued resources we have in communicating with the public, is hosting these meetings virtually allows us to provide this information at any time in the future. Again, Brent touched on, we have 1,650 miles of county road that we're responsible for. And so it takes a team, and I'm thankful that I work with the team here at the Road Commission, because really to maintain and improve that number of miles of road, we have to divide and conquer, if you will. And we have good coordination and good communication to do a variety of work. Adam has touched on some of the preservation type work that we do. He talked about chip seal. What I'm going to focus on is asphalt resurfacing. And so there's various ways that we would resurface an asphalt paved road. One way would be a mill and overlay. Generally, this type of operation is for a pavement in fair condition. And Brent talked about the PACER ratings that we perform. Again, for the primary county roads, we do that annually. And so we look at roads that are in fair condition based on that PACER review, that PACER analysis, and we would apply a mill and overlay to provide a new asphalt surface, a wearing surface, if you will, for the traffic to drive on. The next type of operation that we'll use for an asphalt roadway, a paved roadway, would be a pulverize and overlay. So this involves crushing the existing material up. We blend that crushed asphalt, that old road material, with the underlying base material. Oftentimes that base material, in most cases, is a stone material. We refer to that as aggregate. And so we blend that aggregate base with the existing crushed asphalt material from the old road and create a new base that then is overlaid with a new course of asphalt, a new layer of asphalt, if you will. Now that primarily is for pavement that's in poor condition. So again, based on our review of the roadways and those PACER ratings, if it's in poor condition, we're in all likelihood going to apply a pulverization and asphalt overlay for that type of road. And then we also have many miles, hundreds of miles of unpaved roads. You'll hear us use the terms unpaved or soft surface roads. We generally do not, at least here at the Road Commission, refer to them as dirt roads. That's a common term that's used by the public, and understandably, we really do unfortunately have some roads that are truly dirt roads, because over time what we find is there's a loss of that surface material, that stone, and over time that material degrades. It's carried away by the elements, by wind, by water, by the traction of the vehicles. And over time, if there's not additional aggregate material applied, then you truly do end up with a dirt road. But again, I'll touch on that as well, that we do have a process to resurface unpaved roads to improve them for our motoring public. Next slide, please. So again, the first process that I mentioned that we would use for resurfacing an asphalt road that is in good or fair condition would be milling and paving. So this just shows an example of what a mill machine does. And basically you've got a rotating cutting head inside the mill machine, and that basically is removing, I'll say, anywhere from usually 1.5 to 2 inches of that asphalt surface, that existing asphalt surface, and then that material is carried up a conveyor belt and loaded into a truck and then trucked away. So this is just a picture to help better explain that type of process. Next slide. And here you can actually see a mill machine in action. So again, that mill machine contains a cutting head, a cutting wheel, and as the machine tracks down the road, it's removing that existing asphalt wearing surface that you drive on, and it's taking that 1.5 or 2 inches of material, crushing that material up, and then carrying that into a truck for removal, for hauling away. Next slide. And so this is an example of the second process that I mentioned, the pulverization and resurfacing. And again, I talked a little bit about a pulverizer. it appears similar to a mill machine, but the difference is that pulverizing machine, it retains the existing asphalt roadway material in place. It crushes that material up. It blends that material with the underlying aggregate base. Here it's labeled a gravel base, and it blends that material to provide a new base that then is resurfaced with asphalt. Next slide. And here's an example of a pulverizing machine. And you can see it does look quite similar. One of the big differences is you won't see a conveyor belt on a pulverizing machine, because as I mentioned, the material's not being hauled away, it's being crushed in place. And then once this material is crushed and blended by the pulverizing machine, then the contractor comes in and they grade the material and they compact the material. And once it's been graded and compacted and the center line crown of the road has been restored, then we come in and we actually get the asphalt paving equipment in. And here's an example of that. So this is a milled road. So you can see the milled surface there that employee is standing on, and adjacent to that employee is the new paved surface, the new asphalt surface. And again, that surface generally will be 1.5 to 2 inches it compacted in place. Sometimes we do mill deeper, and sometimes that's dictated by the condition of the road. But in general, it's 1.5 to 2 inches of material that's removed and replaced with new asphalt. Next slide. And I mentioned the third type of operation I mentioned is specific to our unpaved road network. And again, we have several hundred miles of unpaved roads in the county. Some of those roads are primary county roads, and some of those roads are local county roads. But again, those unpaved roads are improved through resurfacing with new aggregate, with new stone. We use a couple different types of material for this soft surface resurfacing. We use gravel and we use limestone. Oftentimes it depends on the type of material that's already in place on a road. Generally, if it's a gravel road, we stick with gravel. If it's a limestone road, we stick with limestone, but not always. And this material is placed. Then the material is graded, again, to restore that crown to the road, because what that crown does is it provides drainage off of the road. So we always want to establish a good crown on the roadway to convey that storm water, that surface water, off to the edge of the road. And oftentimes, as part of our unpaved road improvements, we do things like drainage improvements. We may restore ditches. We refer to it as berming the road. We may remove the built up material that's along the edge of the road, again, to allow that surface water during rain events to be conveyed off of the road. And then oftentimes we'll do forestry operations. We may come in and limb trees. We may come in and remove trees. But again, all of this is contributing to the longevity of that investment, improving that unpaved road. Next slide. And so for the upcoming season for 2024, we plan on resurfacing, so asphalt resurfacing, 30 miles of road. And then we plan on resurfacing our unpaved or soft surface roads, about 11 miles of that. And again, using those different types of material for that effort, using the limestone and the gravel. The money comes from a variety of sources to realize these infrastructure investments. And that's federal and state fuel taxes, the county road millage, which we're very thankful. We appreciate the public continuing to support that county road millage. And then we have great township partners, and the townships will often partner with us to invest township funds to improve roadways. So again, we do have a variety of sources that are used to realize these investments. Next slide. So again, to review some of our resurfacing projects for the upcoming season, we're going to be pulverizing and resurfacing a portion of 7 Mile Road in Salem Township. We've got Bemis Road in Ypsilanti Township, and actually that's a township line road. So Bemis Road between Stony Creek and Hitchingham Road, that actually the northern side of the road is Ypsilanti Township, and the southern side of the road is Augusta Township, but we're going to take that unpaved road and we're going to pave it. So that's a full reconstruction of the road. Adam mentioned that before, that when we reconstruct a road, we actually install new aggregate base, new pavement. Oftentimes it involves concrete curb and gutter. It involves fairly extensive drainage improvements, ditching, and culvert installations. So that's what we're going to be performing on Bemis Road. We've got Bush Road up in Sylvan Township. So again, our intention is to pulverize and resurface Bush Road. Actually, I mentioned the funding sources, the variety of funding sources that we have. And some of our funding up in that northwest corner of the county came through an agreement between the Road Commission and consumers when they put the new pipeline in. They were agreeable, since they were having an impact on our county roads. They agreed to contribute to the betterment of those roads. So that's where Bush Road came from. We've got Dixboro Road. That's in Ann Arbor and Superior Township. Again, that's a township line road. And so we're going to pulverize and resurface. Now, part of that project actually will be pulverization and resurfacing, and part of it's going to be milling and resurfacing. And the difference being is that there is part of that road closer to the Plymouth Road intersection that is a curbed section of road. There's concrete curb and gutter near the intersection. So there we generally would not pulverize a road like that. We need to mill the material off to be able to maintain that curb and gutter section. And then we've got Huron River Drive in Ypsilanti Township. That's going to be a mill and resurface project. That's quite a lengthy project. It's going to extend from Huron Road all the way down to Textile Road. So that's a pretty lengthy project that we're going to work on this season. And then we've got the Jackson Road project. One of the things that I didn't delve into is we do have some roadways that are concrete roads, and some that I'll mention just off the top of my head. Wagner Road between Liberty and Jackson, that's a concrete road. Carpenter Road over in Pittsfield Township, between US 12, extending north all the way up to Clover Lane, south of I-94, that is a concrete road. And then Jackson Road is a concrete road. And Jackson Road, as many of you might know, is a very busy corridor here in Scioto Township. And so our intention is to invest in that road. We're going to be removing concrete pavement and replacing concrete pavement on that job. And the limits of that job extend from Jackson Industrial Drive at the west end, so west of Zeeb Road, all the way over to Myrtle Avenue at the east end. So that length of road in the westbound lanes only will see new concrete pavement this season. Next slide. And then here's some of our additional projects. Again, we've got quite a lengthy list of projects we're going to be working on this year. Joy Road in Ann Arbor and Northfield Townships. So that's a limestone resurfacing project. And again, it is a township line road. That one actually is ongoing. That's underway. There's been some forestry work performed on that project, drainage work performed on that project. And as I mentioned before, performing that drainage and that forestry work is vital to promoting the longevity of that new surface, that new limestone surface to be placed on Joy Road. So that's ongoing. We've got Miller Road in Scioto Township, a relatively short section of Miller Road that's from the roundabout at Miller and Wagner and extends east towards the city of Ann Arbor, actually to the M14 ramps, or the M14 service drive, if you will. So we're going to be doing a milling and resurfacing of that road. We've got Parker Road, again, another township line road between Lima and Scioto Township. We're going to be pulverizing and resurfacing that road. Operations, again, I mentioned the forestry and the drainage work. That work actually is getting started here. So our intention is working with our operations team here at the Road Commission. They're performing that drainage and forestry type work to prepare the project for pulverization and asphalt paving that would be performed by one of our contractors. We've got Platt Road in Pittsfield Township. That's a mill and resurface that's going to extend from Textile Road northerly up to it's going to extend up to Ellsworth Road, and that's basically the city limits. So we'll be milling and resurfacing Platte Road. Again, something we're very much coordinating closely with MDOT, because MDOT is going to be also working and is actively working on that portion of US 12 or Michigan Avenue, if you will. So again, we want to be thoughtful about that. We don't want to cause undue frustration for motorists. But again, we will be resurfacing Platte Road from Textile Road North up to Ellsworth Road. We've got Scioto Church Road. Again, many of these are township line roads. So Scioto Church Road between Lodi and Scioto townships. That's a mill and resurface project. We have Schneider Road down in Bridgewater and Freedom. That's a mill and resurface. And then we have Waterloo Road in Linden Township, and that's going to be a pulverize and resurface as well. So a wide variety of infrastructure investments and improvements to look forward to this season. Next slide. So here is a map detailing those locations, and really what's a great resource for the public is to go to our website, and this map is available on our website, and it's an interactive map where you can click on a segment of road, and it will provide you with links specifically to that segment that you've clicked on. And you can see here we've highlighted the variety of projects that I was just discussing, and I will admit that with my work here at the Road Commission, I wasn't using this map as a reference. It's all in my head. So I do enjoy that part of my work. I very much look forward to the upcoming construction season. Next slide, please. We're going to build a couple of roundabouts this season, so that's exciting. We have an ongoing project. So this project just started this past Monday, April 15th. Our contractor closed the intersection of Miller Road and Zeeb Road, and the project work is now ongoing. So this intersection is closed. We have detours in place, posted detours directing traffic around the closure. And again, the intention here is we're going to build a roundabout. Again, the focus of building a roundabout at this intersection is to improve primarily and foremost the safety of the intersection, and also to improve the efficient movement of traffic, and to improve that level of service for the motorists that are using this intersection. Next slide. This is another roundabout. So our second roundabout for this season is down at Whitaker Road and Willis Road in Augusta Township, immediately adjacent to the Lincoln Consolidated Schools campus. This one, we do have a contractor in place. In fact, the pre-construction meeting for this project was just yesterday. And the intention here is we're going to be closing the road in early June. The first 2 weeks of the closure, we're allowing DTE Gas to move in, and they need to relocate gas mains for us to build this proposed roundabout. So we've given them a 2-week window. Our contractor will then commence operations out there and begin the construction of the new roundabout. And we have indicated in our contract documents, our bid documents, that this is to be completed prior to school going back in August. Now, one of the things that often will happen on a construction project is there are things that influence the schedule, things such as weather. If a contractor experiences poor weather for an extended period of time, they can request an extension of that contract time. If they justify that time and we agree that it's justified, then we grant that time to them. But again, they have to provide that justification. Something else that sometimes will occur, try as we might, we will have utility conflicts that are unexpected, because sometimes utilities are not effectively identified during that design process. And so sometimes it takes additional time to work around a utility or to work with one of our utility partners to get a relocation performed. But again, we try as much as possible to hold our contractors to the dictated schedule that's in the contract documents, but there are justifiable reasons that we sometimes consider if they request such. Next slide, please. So bridges, the Road Commission owns, we have direct jurisdiction over 125 bridges throughout the county, and those are in a variety of conditions. So those bridges are listed by the federal inventory. And not to get too far into the weeds, but what is considered a bridge by the Federal Highway Administration and by MDOT is a structure that has a span that's greater than 20 feet. So for instance, you can see the bridge in this picture. This is the Dixboro Road Bridge over the Huron River. This has a span well in excess of 20 feet. No one would question this being a bridge, but again, sometimes our bridges are quite small. They might only be 20 feet, and it's the portion of the bridge that spans over the waterway. We're measuring from one foundation to the other, and if that span is greater than 20 feet or 20 feet, then it's a federally listed structure. Federally listed structures have to be inspected a minimum of 2 years, but if the structure falls into a state of advanced deterioration, we start to inspect it more frequently. And if a structure has a weight limit on it, that's another indication of a structural deterioration. We inspect that bridge more frequently. Next slide, please. One of the bridge replacements that we're going to undertake this year is on Stony Creek Road over the Paint Creek in Ypsilanti Township. So as indicated here on the map, that bridge is located between Whitaker Road at the north end and Textile Road to the south end. It's immediately adjacent to the Pineview Golf Course. And our intention is to begin this project in late July. Our contractor will close the road to perform this work, and the existing bridge will be removed and replaced with a new structure. The fortunate thing here is that the detour route is quite short. That supports the closure of the road, because generally for a bridge project in particular, it's far more efficient to replace a bridge if you close the road to do so. So we're going to take advantage of the relatively short detour here. Motorists can simply follow Whitaker Road to Textile and then right back over to Stony Creek Road. And that's not a very long detour at all. Next slide, please. So again, touching on the map and the variety of projects we have, this map again goes over the wide variety of project investments we intend to undertake this year. And I really want to stress the fact that it's of great value if the public has interest in projects, that they go to our website, and really we have a plethora of information available there for people to learn about our work. Next slide, please. So I provided just kind of a quick tutorial on bridges. If you have a structure that's under 20-foot span, and again, that span is from one foundation to the next, whatever spans over the waterway, if it's under 20 feet, then that is deemed a culvert. And so we actually own 2,800 plus culverts throughout the county. There are a variety of sizes, there are a variety of conditions, and the larger structures are inspected at least every 4 years. The bridges, we have to inspect those a minimum of every 2 years. That's dictated by Federal Highway and by MDOT. The culverts are left up to the road agency, those culverts that are under our county roads. And so we've undertaken a program here at Washtenaw County to make sure that we're inspecting the larger culverts. So those culverts that would be 5 foot in span or greater, we're inspecting those every 4 years at a minimum. And then there are a wide variety of culvert types, and we oftentimes will work with our township partners. If they're on a local county road, we'll work with our township partners to undertake those types of culvert improvement projects. Next slide. So we do have quite a few culvert replacements this year, and I certainly would like to note that part of the impetus of this, really what provided a good portion of the funding for us to undertake this year's projects was provided through the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners and them working with the Water Resources Commission to provide a stormwater quality grant program. and the road commission worked with our township partners, and basically that funding, that grant funding, has been identified in many cases for culvert replacements to improve stormwater quality. And so again, many projects to be undertaken this year. We have Arcona Road in Saline Township, Bemis Road in Bridgewater and Freedom Township, Conway Road in Sylvan Township, Ellsworth Road in Lodi Township, Feldkamp Road in Saline Township, Fosdick Road in Pittsfield Township. And again, working with our township partners, in many cases, working with them and through the Water Resources Stormwater Grant Program. These type of projects 9 times out of 10 require a road closure. Again, for the same reasons I mentioned about the bridges, it is far more efficient to close a road to replace a culvert. And oftentimes the culverts we're replacing are in such poor condition that we really could not maintain traffic on half of that culvert. So by and large, culvert replacements require a road closure. Next slide, please. And again, here's quite a few additional culvert replacements on Huron River Drive, Joy Road, Judd Road, Oak Valley Drive, Sheridan Road, and Weber Road. So again, a wide variety of types of culvert replacements and just a great deal of work here. But again, all for the betterment of our county road system, because while a culvert might not be of significant size and could be as small as 5-foot span, if that culvert is in an advanced state of deterioration and through an inspection we determine it has to be closed, it can be a great impediment to the traveling public. So it's very important, regardless of the size of the culvert, that we're very attentive to that and that these investments are made. Next slide, please. So we do have non-motorized projects as well. So we're happy to partner with Washtenaw County Parks and with our township partners. And one of the ongoing non-motorized projects that we're part of the team on is the Huron River Drive Segment D3 project. So the D3 project extends from Zeeb Road at the west end along Huron River Drive to East Delhi or Delhi Metro Park at the east end. And so that's going to create a non-motorized trail that'll run along the south side of Huron River Drive, between Huron River Drive and the adjacent railroad. And as we construct that non-motorized path, one of the challenges we have is constructing a bridge to cross over the Huron River. I'm happy to say that bridge construction is ongoing. That is currently ongoing. So our intention is to work with Washtenaw County Parks and to work with the contractor to complete that project during this construction season. There have been some great challenges on that project that have extended the timetable on it, and one of the biggest challenges we had was working with the railroad. And not to speak ill of our railroad partners, but again, there are various permits and requirements that are put in place by the railroad, and we needed to work with them to overcome those challenges. So next slide, please. So I'll go ahead and turn this back over to Brent, and he's going to touch on our traffic and safety.
Thanks, Aaron. Now I'll get into our traffic and safety. A lot of the projects that were either started either through grants or that are maintained or performed under this group. So if you go to the next slide. So a lot of these projects will include traffic signals, either new signals or upgrading or modernizing existing signals, or have some flashing beacons. And again, like Aaron stated earlier, that there's a variety of sources of funding, whether they're federal state fuel taxes or through the county road millage, or partnering with our townships. If you can go to the next slide. So some of the new traffic signals, these were carryover projects. They were actually funded last year, but due to some material delays or we had to carry those over into this year. Those include Ellsworth Road at Oak Valley Drive. This was actually a millage project and partnering with Pittsfield Township to improve this intersection with a mast arm traffic signal. Another one is in Superior Township. This is Gettys and Harris Road. This will get a box span traffic signal that'll be installed by our crews. Webster Township, this is actually part of a safety project that I'll touch on a little bit later. This is at North Territorial and Webster Church Road, where we'll be widening that intersection to put center left turn lanes and ultimately installing a brand new traffic signal. Ypsilanti Township, this is Ford and Russell. This is actually to modernize this intersection from the existing diagonal span to a mast arm traffic signal. If we can go to the next slide. So then we get into modernizations. A lot of the projects that are listed here were applied for through a congestion mitigation air quality grant that monitors the air quality, and we apply for those and receive funding to modernize those to help reduce some of those whether it's CO2 through these segments of road. First one is in Pittsfield Township, and actually this does extend into the city of Saline. This is along Ann Arbor Saline Road between Maple and I-94. That's in Pittsfield Township. And then Maple Road, which, extends within Pittsfield and extends into Saline, city of Saline. That's between Ann Arbor Saline Road and US 12. This will be modernizing those signals so that they communicate, and we're able to monitor that traffic actually from our office. The next project is within Ann Arbor and Superior Townships. This is along Plymouth Road. This is between Old Earhart and M153. Again, this will be to modernize those signals along that corridor. And actually that includes an adaptive system that will then adjust that signal based on the demand of traffic that it's seeing. You can go to the next slide. Then we get into some of our safety projects. These, our traffic and safety group monitors our roadway system and then determines whether or not specific treatments need to be put in place, whether that's a center left turn lane or enhanced pavement marking or signage. And then we also look to utilize some of that to apply for safety grants. Fortunately, these are reactive grants and they're looking at existing crashes, but we want to put these in place to help improve whether that's an intersection or a segment of road. So through that, some of those grants that we received, again, like I stated earlier, where we're putting in the new traffic signal is a safety project along North Territorial Road. That project extends from Webster Church Road, or just east of Webster Church Road, to Mass Road. That includes the traffic signal there at North Territorial and Webster Church Road, adding the center left turn lanes at that intersection. There were a couple of culvert replacements on that corridor. We're looking at rumble strips and sign upgrades. And this is again funded through that CMAC, the congestion mitigation, or I'm sorry, through our safety grant, not the congestion mitigation. Also through those safety funds was North Territorial and Dexter Town Hall. Oh, and I guess just to back up on that, the project at along North Territorial from Webster Church to Mass began this past Monday. Thanks, Emma, for going back. This past Monday, April 15th. The project that's ongoing is on North Territorial at the intersection of Dexter Town Hall. This was to improve the sight distance of that intersection, improve cutting that hill down. We cut that hill over 6 feet. Is what we cut that hill down to help improve that sight distance. We'll also be constructing the center left turn lane at the intersection, installing a flashing beacon at that intersection, and there was a culvert replacement which was east of the intersection. One other safety project that we just recently bid out through MDOT. This was through their safety grant program as well. This includes Old US 12, Workner Road and Willis Road. This will be looking at applying high friction surface within the horizontal or the curves of some of those roads. Centerline rumble. Willis Road will get centerline rumble basically from the city of Saline all the way to Rossonville Road. And again, those were funded through the safety grant. Now I'll pass it off to Adam and he'll kind of get into our road maintenance.
Thank you, Brent. We'll talk a little bit about road maintenance now. So some of the items we highlighted earlier when I was speaking, really preservation of the roads. That's what we do kind of every day in the maintenance side of, so operations department that I oversee. So typically our work is performed as needed when resources are available. So you can see some of the types of work there on the page on the slide, and I'll kind of explain a little bit of those. We do acquire field information and current conditions from both our staff and the WCRC Fix-It request app. General surface maintenance, including pothole patching and the grading of these unpaved roads that we've been talking about quite frequently here throughout the presentation. Those occur throughout the year when applicable, mainly weather related. Also highlighting weather, our staff does respond to weather related events, obviously with snow and ice, but specific to the summertime, storm cleanup, any type of debris that's impacting traffic and blocking roadways, we also respond to those as well outside of the winter season. Our staff is involved in incident response. That's typically mutual aid to help first responders manage scenarios on the road system itself. And those, again, obviously would be impacting traffic, so which draws out our response. The engineering department also has some staff that perform necessary maintenance for the traffic signs and signals, which Brent just touched on a little bit as well. These are both emergent incident response and routine maintenance-based practices. On the next slide, our crew here is actively grading a road. So that's the process of using a motor grader that's pictured. And we essentially cut/scrape that unpaved surface, and then we collect the aggregate within the road. And that's that little row there you see outside the grader's wheels. And that's considered a windrow. What we do is stack that material into the middle, ideally, and then we start to begin to shape what we refer to as crown. What that is the pitched portion of the road, ideally in the center of the road, and that's in an effort to convey the water off the road surface. This is to reduce ponding, pooling that may happen, and try to prevent some of that surface saturation that you see quite frequently in the springtime. It's critically important on soft surface road maintenance to maintain that stability of the road throughout the summer months to keep that water off of the road system itself. So that's why the crown is very important. As you see there, we're trying to build a crown on that road. And for scheduled maintenance, that work's performed on a seasonal schedule. It's not by request, but our team schedules that out throughout what they can accomplish throughout each week, month, throughout the year. Dust control, that's dust suppression. That's to limit material loss, because that fugitive dust turns into the fine particles actually leaving the road, which are actually what we use to keep that road compact. So that essentially degrades the road when it's dusty. So within the summer months, we try to make at least 3 applications of dust suppression throughout the season. And those are typically, once again, scheduled throughout to kind of span the season and try to limit that dust as best as possible. Both primary and local roads will get those multiple applications throughout the season. Roadside mowing is something that you frequently see. You may drive past it and not realize it, but that's a typical 5-foot swath, so 5-foot path along the edge of the road, the traveled way there that's mowed to keep back the weeds and the brush. Also provides that little bit of space as a safety cushion or a buffer, so traffic could see a potential animal that decides to cross on any time of the day, but particularly in low light hours. The county paved road system is mowed twice per season, usually beginning of season and then sometime mid-season towards end of season. The unpaved county road system is mowed once per season. That's typically mid-season, so you can think July to September, somewhere in there. And then street sweeping, it's actually currently ongoing, just starting on the MDOT trunk line systems that we're responsible for maintenance as well on there that Brent highlighted earlier. That's swept twice throughout the year. Those are curbed sections of roadway only. And then our crew works with a contractor as they sweep that area to prevent basically debris buildup that would obstruct drainage at any given moment throughout the season. And then pavement markings, that process is contractor driven, but that's overseen by our engineering department. We typically repaint every 1 to 3 years, depending on road traffic volume, if we've had any projects that affect the markings of the road. So that kind of weighs within that 1 to 3 year period, whatever's necessary. And then scheduling, it's relatively simple, but it does get a bit complex as you move through the season. It's a good time to answer the question about the springtime. We hear, you know, why haven't you started the project yet? A lot of these, as you heard, there's some restrictions, whether it be environmentally or weather specific. When there's just too much saturation, it's tough for the contractor or our crews to begin some of these projects. Really what you need is a dry road bed. That's the surface the road is basically sitting on. If that's saturated, you basically don't have stability. And that's, in addition to that necessity, those environmental restrictions really play a part in our scheduling, and we really have to coordinate that to try to do as much as we can. Off-season projects are possible with favorable winter conditions. Some of those culvert replacements for 2024 did occur in theory this winter because the frost wasn't as thick or even present in general. So materials crews were available. We were able to do some of the more simplified culvert replacements to limit impact on the traffic system throughout the summer months. As we all know, Michigan provides us a shorter construction season compared to many states. So we really try to make the most of it. And then this is another slide kind of highlighting construction activities, very much weather dependent. As we've been saying, you know, a moisture delay can affect whether it be an an unpaved project or a paved project as well. So an example would be some of that seal coating we spoke about previously with the chip in the seal. None of those sealers can be applied when it's wet. So if rain comes, we essentially have to stop. Paving is also something that when we're repaving a road, we really can't do that while it's raining. You don't get that specified adherence between the layers of asphalt, and you also just run the risk of increasing safety risk to the crews performing that work in those hard visibility areas. And then a little bit of the complication comes in with all the moving parts we have. So we've highlighted environmental considerations continually here throughout the presentation, but we also try to coordinate with MDOT as Brent's kind of noted before, and so did Aaron. That's very much dependent on some of our projects, how we work, because we have to work with MDOT to ensure that we're not putting traffic onto one of their jobs or vice versa. So there's quite a bit of coordination between ourselves and MDOT to maintain that. But some other, the potential project delays that could be considered would be utilities, whether it be relocation or just working with utilities in general. Talked a little bit about the rail system. Sometimes it's permitting is specific to certain times of the year that we can work. So really just that coordination and continued communication that our team works kind of behind the curtain with. And then some of the equipment we actually use can actually break down and cause a bit of a delay as well because they don't make as many pieces of those equipment that are available. So they're really very much specialized. So you have to kind of take care of what you have. And then supply chain, that's sometimes a challenge. Previously, it's bothered us quite a bit. Things seem to be leveling out here in the recent years. And then I'll give it here back to Aaron to talk a little bit about work zone safety, and then I'll speak a little bit later. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. Again, appreciate the opportunity here, and I really cannot overstate the importance of work zone safety. Work zone safety is there to protect both the motoring public and the employees that are working on our job sites. So I'm going to just provide a little bit of background here. Next slide. So in 2023, there were 7,237 work zone crashes in Michigan. There were 20 fatalities that occurred, and there were 1,896 injuries. And again, as indicated here on the slide, the individuals that are working on this job site are dads, their moms, their sisters, their uncles, their sons, their daughters. I have seen an increased indifference for the motoring public. And I say that in general. That's a broad stereotype on my part. But in my career, that now is over 25 years, more and more motorists seem to be distracted and seem to have a lack of care for those that are in the work zone. So I'm appealing to all of you who would watch this to please be mindful when you are in those work zones, be it work zones here in Washtenaw County, be it a work zone set up by the Road Commission, by MDOT, or in any of the adjacent counties or states. You need to be mindful, you need to be paying attention to what's going on around you when you're driving through a work zone, and you need to reduce your speed. Interestingly enough, as we're convening this meeting, this virtual public meeting, we are in the midst of National Work Zone Awareness Week. And tomorrow, Friday, April 19th, we will recognize a moment of silence to honor those that have been killed in work zone accidents. And interestingly enough as well, there was an accident that occurred in Van Buren County just a little over a year ago, during which one of our colleagues at the Van Buren County Road Commission was killed by a motorist. That motorist, on Monday of this week, the beginning of National Work Zone Awareness Week, that motorist was sentenced to up to 15 years in prison. And so again, I can't overstate how important it is for motorists to be attentive and to watch how they're operating their vehicle as they're going through the work zones. Next slide. So work zone safety includes slowing down, minimizing your distractions. There are a variety of distractions in our vehicles now. Most vehicles now come with more or less a video screen. But again, you need to be paying attention, you need to be patient, you need to exercise caution, and you need to be calm, because it can be very frustrating. And please understand that all of us that work here at the Road Commission, we get caught in the traffic as well, because we travel. We travel as part of our workday. We travel off work hours with our families, and it can be quite frustrating. But again, we're asking everyone to remain calm and keeping in mind that the work that's going on, it is a relative short-term disruption for a long-term investment in our infrastructure. As an example, I mentioned the work that's going on at Miller and Zeeb right now to construct the new roundabout. We have indicated to our contractor in our bid documents that they have 9 weeks to get that road reopened, that intersection reopened. 9 weeks is a relatively short period of time invested for the construction of a roundabout that will serve the public for decades to come. So next slide. And again, what I've seen during the course of my career is, again, motorists being willing to press their luck and to risk injury to the workers on the job site by ignoring closures. I've seen individuals drive around barricades. I've seen them drive through ditches. I've seen individuals stop their vehicles and get out and move barricades to be able to drive into the closure zone. The closure zone is very hazardous. It's hazardous for the motorist. It's hazardous for the workers on the job site. And again, we are asking that people be respectful. When we put a road closure up, we mean the road is closed. Next slide, please. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn it back over to Emma. And again, I very much appreciate the opportunity to participate today in the meeting and everyone here attending and viewing this in the future.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, now I'm going to go over some construction communications with you guys. So how can you stay up to date regarding our construction projects and our traffic impacts? You can check out our website. Our communications team works very hard to update our website and our social media pages. On the website, you will find our current projects map, answers to your frequently asked questions, and a place for residents to submit a ticket. You can find permit information and apply for a permit entirely through our website, and residents can also subscribe themselves for road updates. Here's a look at the current projects map that we have. This was the interactive map that Aaron was talking about earlier, where you're able to click on either one of the red dots or the blue lines, and you can go straight to that project and get more information regarding it. The blue lines usually mean resurfacing project, non-motorized pathway projects, or safety projects, and the red dots are intersection work or bridge work. Every Thursday, WCRC posts a weekly roadwork schedule for the coming week to give residents an overview of the traffic impacts that they may come across throughout the county. The schedule includes our major construction projects as well as local road projects. However, the schedule does not include routine maintenance activities such as pothole patching. Please keep in mind that the schedule is subject to change after publication based on weather conditions, crew availability, and contractor scheduling. Now, while we're talking about the schedule and the website, I want to take just 1 second and direct you guys over to our website and show you guys how to find the information that you're looking for. So I've just opened a regular browser and I've typed in WCRoads.org. Once you get to our homepage, you'll be able to see just an overview of the latest updates that we have. We have project updates over here. This is normally where our road advisories will be. And you can click on the interactive map here. At the top, there's going to be a menu bar. One of the options is going to be roadwork and construction. Once you hover your mouse over that option, there'll be a drop-down menu, and one of the options you can click on is current projects. If you go to our current projects webpage, you'll be able to see the interactive map that takes just a second to load. At the top of the page is where the recording for this meeting will actually be posted. So if you need to go back and watch this meeting for any reason, you can find it at the top of the page there. If you scroll past the interactive map, you'll be able to see tile project pages. So these are project web pages for each of our individual construction projects. I will go ahead and click on the 7 Mile Road pulverize and resurfacing project. Once you get onto one of the project web pages, you'll be able to see a general map and location of where the project is. You'll be able to see township information, the timeline, the type of work, the impact to traffic, and the funding source. You'll also be able to see the project manager contact information, as well as any updates relating to the project. This will be where roadwork advisories or project updates will be posted relating to this specific project. You can also click on helpful links. This will be where the detours are provided, as well as any past virtual public meetings that we've had in the past. The recording will be posted here, as well as the meeting slides. You can also go to our project web pages and subscribe yourself for project updates. There's a button on the home page. There's multiple options for this specific button to sign yourself up for road updates all over our website. You can sign up for specific traffic impacts. You can sign up for specific townships or projects, whatever you're interested in. If you go back and hover your mouse over that roadwork and construction tab, you can also click on the weekly roadwork schedule. As I stated before, the schedule is updated every Thursday. So by the end of the day today, this will be the schedule for next week between April 22nd through the 28th. You can click on these hyperlinks here and go straight to the project webpage. They'll have detour maps and the contact information for the project manager. Okay. Okay, so our hours of operation during the summer and spring are Monday through Thursday from 6 a.m. to 4:30. During the winter hours, it's from 7 a.m. to 3:30, Monday through Friday. But beginning today, we will be have our office hours from Monday through Thursday from 6 a.m. to 4:30. If you see a hazard on the roadway during these times or even after office hours, please feel free to give us a call. We have an after hours answering service machine or service that will help us facilitate handling those hazards on the roadway. How can you report an issue to WCRC? Through our WCRC Fix-It request ticket system. So we've got a request ticket system that allows residents to submit requests to us. Our foreman and our operations crews or engineering team reviews these requests and then provides answers to our residents. Residents can visit our website or download the WCRC Fix-It app, and they can submit tickets for issues such as potholes that need to be filled, tree trimmings, drainage concerns, damaged mailbox, or neighborhood traffic concerns. If residents choose to, they can attach their contact information to the request ticket that they're entering, and that way they can receive updates or status updates regarding the ticket that they've entered. However, if you see a hazard such as like an object obstructing the road or a down or missing stop sign, definitely feel free to call us and do not submit a ticket. That's an emergency that we want to address as soon as possible. There are several ways to communicate with WCRC. You can virtually join our board meetings or just come in person. We host board meetings every first and third Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. We also welcome you to join chat with the Road Commission every Wednesday from noon to 1 p.m. on Zoom. Residents will have the opportunity to chat with either a road commissioner or a member of our senior leadership team. You can always follow us and get updates on our social media platforms as well. We will respond in a timely manner. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now we can open the presentation up to your questions. If you are viewing the meeting on your computer, first make sure to click audio. You can raise your hand by clicking the reactions or the participants button at the bottom of your screen, and then the raise hand button at the bottom right of your screen. If you dialed into the meeting from your touch tone phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. As the meeting host, I will unmute participants with raised hands one at a time, and I will announce your username or your last 4 digits of your phone number when it's your turn to speak. We are happy to answer as many questions as possible, but please be respectful of each other's time. If your question is called on before you are called on, or if your question is answered before you are called on, you can lower your hand by clicking the lower hand or by dialing *9. Okay, once again, here is our panel of road experts who are here to answer any questions that we may have. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, and I don't see anyone with their hand raised. I just want to remind all the co-hosts to check their own chat. I don't believe we have any questions, though. I think we might be all set and are able to wrap up this meeting. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, and I'm not seeing anyone notify us about any questions, so I will move on.
Thank you.
Okay, so just to remind you guys one more time to subscribe for our updates. This is the best way to stay up to date regarding traffic impacts and updates on our large construction projects. If you want to avoid our construction zones, then sign up for those updates. This is the best tool that we could have for you. Thank you so much for attending our virtual construction season kickoff for the 2024 construction season. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.